This is a meeting of the Silverton Housing Authority. All trustees are present along with Ann Chase and Melina Marks and Gloria Clashberger online. We don't have any public comment in person. I don't see anybody online, so we will close public comment and I will take it over to you.
Great. This should be a little meeting. We do need to approve August 4th, 2025 meeting minutes. Is first on the agenda.
I'll entertain a motion to approve August 4th meeting.
So moved. Second.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Hobson?
Yes.
Trustee Wakefield?
Yes.
Mr. Schnittken?
Yes.
Mr. Gardner?
Yes.
Mr. George?
Yes.
Tim Harper?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. I included a director's report in this packet. Everything that I need your consideration on is on this thing, so we'll move through that. We had San Juan Development had our first Division of Housing audit. That went well. It helped prepare me and our program to effectively manage our Anvil Townhomes DOH grant. So that was a good process. I've been in a lot of meetings with CDOT, our development crew, our GC for Anvil Townhomes, as well as some regular weekly meetings. On top of the to-do list, this week is crunch time because the application for the wait list for the Anvil Townhomes opens on Monday. That'll be open until November 3rd. So people have a little bit more than a month, or just about a month, to apply for this first round of the wait list. And
are you getting do you feel like you have a sense that people know this is happening and interest?
It's hard because it was I was waiting until I knew that the homes are coming up this fall.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of momentum. It fizzled out. But notices are going out in the Standard this week. It's on our social media, email list. But I will leave it up to you all as well to be advocate, to remind people that this is an opportunity. On that same note, we have 2 homeownership education classes in Silverton in October. One's on the 4th, and that's in Spanish. And one's on the 18th, or no, sorry, the one on the 4th is in English. The one on the 18th is in Spanish. Housing Authority can cover the cost of registration for applicants. And applicants do need to take a HUD certified homeownership program or homeownership class to qualify for this application. We are planning on scheduling a groundbreaking ceremony sometime in October. I will keep you all posted on that. Gauge your availability.
People, real quick, so if people have questions on it, the Housing Authority website, all of that, it's there. Point them to the website.
Yeah, it's in progress, but I hope in the next days I'll have more information.
When it's ready, that's where
that is where all the information will live. Yeah. People can always contact me or call me as well. We have submitted our Town of Silverton Land Use Code to DOLA for review of our expedited review for affordable housing. That was approved. So we've met our Proposition 123 commitment for that. And then the next part will be building our units, which is also underway. As we completed that before the deadline, we are getting $50,000 in bonus added to our local planning capacity grant, which will cover the director's position or the housing coordinator's position within the community development department, who serves as the director. Let's see. We closed on the Anvil Townhomes construction loan on the 16th, last Tuesday. And Public Works has started public improvements for the townhomes today. We are shooting for October 10th for the units to come over the pass. A release will go out next week along with the CDOT traffic advisory. Details will follow, but people can expect traffic impacts on Highway 550 on October 10th.
Because
They're honestly minimal. They are very minimal compared to what we are used to. So, that will come out next week. Any questions on the director's report?
great work. That's a lot.
So for the Anvil Townhomes, we are dialing in the affordability covenants that we will place on these properties. There are several items that I am requesting your input on. The first of those is the duration of the affordability covenants. Previous Town of Silverton Board of Trustees have advocated for 99 years, indefinite. Planning Commission has also recommended that we extend it beyond sort of the 30-year typical duration. So the options are 99 years. Well, the options are whatever you want them to be, but here are the ones I'm proposing. 99 years. We could do 99 years with an automatic renewal. We could do in perpetuity. We could do a shorter duration with automatic renewal. But in any of these instances where there's no renewal, we recommend including a clause that when the covenants expire, the owner has to either renew the covenants themselves or they have to pay the proceeds of selling their home at a market rate, like the difference between what they would have gotten at the affordable sale price versus the market rate, so that no one's getting that windfall value of the subsidies that are going into these properties. I don't really have a recommendation beyond that as far as time frame. I'll open up to you all for questions, comments.
In your experience, do you notice anything that other communities do or have learned, or DOLA or Department of Housing recommends, or any other insights to share beyond our local perspective and context?
They're all some sort of flavor of 99 years or in perpetuity or a limit with automatic renewal.
Gotcha. Thanks. What did we do for Martha Rose? Did we do
That was in perpetuity.
Okay.
So what's the functional difference? Like, why would we not just say in perpetuity?
If there's a moment where the home, I don't know, like if it doesn't need to be affordable anymore, or it needs to be having some sort of like term limit could be helpful for the housing authority to buy it again, build it. We could do that at any point that someone tries to sell it.
Right, it wouldn't need
No.
99 years sunset to,
No,
yeah, okay.
It
doesn't matter.
here.
Well, it definitely won't be our problem, so.
I'm not saying it wouldn't even be a problem. I'm just saying like there.
I mean-
Tyler's working on it. You're gonna run for board multiple times that way, right? Thoughts from the board? I would just say if we did Martha Rose's in perpetuity, I think consistency is always best. Is there any strong opposition to that language?
No.
Or in perpetuity? Good in.
Okay. Next is potential fees that we could incorporate into the covenants. So the housing authority doesn't have a stable revenue source. We're responsible for administering applications, the wait list, the buying process, annual compliance checks. And the expense to the housing authority is administrative costs to do so. So in order to recapture some of those expenses, we could implement a resale fee. So this means that when the home sells, housing authority would get a percentage of that sale. Something to consider is that our resale process does not include realtors. So owners and buyers are receiving some sort of cost benefit of not including the typical realtor fee. However, another thing to consider is that these homes have an appreciation cap. So the amount of equity and appreciation that these owners will be realizing is limited. So any resale fee will take away from that. At the same time, Summit County, Telluride, Vale, other housing authorities have implemented some sort of fee, anywhere between 1% and 3% of the resale price. You at the time of so I guess I'm opening it up to, do we want to have a resale fee? And do we want that to be what percentage? Another consideration is a program fee. So within the covenants, we can incorporate a monthly fee to the housing authority to do enforcement, resale, all of that. So we could have both fees, one fee, no fees. But this could be a revenue source.
Yeah.
Not of anything substantial, but it is something.
It's not going to significantly hurt the affordability of the house if we're selling it to somebody else that needs affordable housing.
Right, because the resale price is capped.
We talked about this a bit in the finance committee when we talked about a sustainable revenue source and for me, philosophically, it's sort of funny to charge the folks that we're trying to provide subsidized to do a fee to be in that housing. And at the same time, we had the conversation that like, because of Tabor and a variety of financing laws, we're not able to charge a real estate transfer fee with market rate transactions. And so I think, it'd be nice to be able to have a real estate transaction fee with market rate options, and that's not the case here. So it's kind of a philosophical question for the board is, does the town want to continue to pay for or subsidize the cost of administering the program? Or do we think this is the right transaction place to capture some sort of fee?
And $20 a month is what you're thinking?
I don't know. I just put that out there.
Yeah.
Just so we have an idea of what that would be. But we do have to consider that these townhomes will have an HOA fee.
They will.
Okay.
Right, for the shared maintenance.
But that'll be incorporated into their housing costs, which we'll get into later.
It's tough to ask them to pay, especially with an HOA fee.
But they are also benefiting from that administrative process.
Yeah.
Like typically you'd pay a realtor on both ends. So the fact that that's not like, and you're serving in that role. Also, you're still building like it and homeownership skills. So I wouldn't say it's like if you're reselling, you're ideally moving on to something different. That's not the affordable housing program. So still a success, right? If you walk away from that unit.
Are we thinking 1%, 2%, 3%?
We probably have to answer the yes or no question first.
Not 3%, I don't think.
I mean, we can think of it. So housing authorities who own rental properties set their budget so that they make money to cover the expenses of having a site manager, rental manager.
Mhm.
So this is like a different type of
Mhm.
income potentially, and the way that I've heard deed restricted housing compared to like on a housing continuum, like it's not market rate, but it's not rental. You're right in the middle.
Mhm.
And so I think like we've spent over 2 years, is that true? No, 1.5 years building this project,
Mhm.
administering everything. We're not doing a development fee that's going toward developers. So if the housing authority wants to recoup anything at all,
Mhm.
this is our mechanism.
Mhm.
But I could go without it too.
Also, to what end? Like, are we gonna recoup enough to actually put it towards another project, or are we doing it for the sake of doing it and we're gonna make a couple $1,000s that's just gonna?
Per transaction, yeah.
Right, I mean, that's my question around the percentage, like, because
20% or 1%?
you know, how often, what's the transaction volume that we're expecting? It's not super high. I think in theory, like I'm theoretically in favor of some mechanism that makes this sustainable, but we're not at the scale where like we could charge a fee that's sustainable for our
And have enough turnover to.
residents.
Uh,
That's also then providing the sustainability that we want for the.
Also to say right now, where 9 units are gonna come online and not charging a fee at that capture point.
Yeah, so I guess fees and then resale percentages are,
Mhm.
we gotta,
Right.
Would this take place if we implemented a fee now, 1%, 3%, whatever? Would that take effect for these sales? It would, right?
I would suggest that we push it to the next,
To the next sale.
yeah.
Mhm.
So it doesn't include the initial sale.
Round of sales.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So that's
Mhm.
years away.
Jim, Ron?
3% is typically your realtor fee, so.
Yeah.
Take that into consideration.
Feel like we ought to recover something.
Mhm.
but so, and the,
Yes, but what about, yeah.
but the percentage is also only for resale fees, not for initial sale fees. Right?
Okay.
Or can we can do whatever.
I just don't want to shoot ourselves in the foot.
Okay.
With this initial round. Yeah. We have a lot of debt that we need to pay off.
And we're kind of flooding the market in a sense.
We are.
We're not like, and from what I heard from finance committee, like there wasn't really many other viable options. Like it's not gonna cover the cost of a new home, but it could cover cost of like, keeping salaried positions.
Probably won't even be that.
Yeah.
But like,
It's something.
yeah.
It's not zero.
Yeah.
Right now, we have zero revenue source. For housing, this would be something. So
But resale or program fee
resale.
or both?
I'm a little bit with Ann on this, is that for this first round, it is a time when you can recoup more of those costs, but we are also like, this is a little bit of a grand experiment here in another couple of months.
So resale fee for the future, but MP now?
Do we know how much the HOA fee will be around again? No. I'm just.
Rough idea at all.
Can the program fee be looped in with the HOA fees? Can the program fee be looped in with the HOA fee together all in one, or it could be two separate?
It would be two separate.
Yeah.
Outside of the housing authority.
How many are in favor of some type of fee at resale?
Yeah,
This-
yeah, I mean,
Like I
as
could-
long as it's not more than a realtor's fee, I think.
Okay, so there's an appetite for a fee at resale. At what level? We have 1%, 2%, or 3% suggested,
1.5. Right, like
half of a realtor fee.
1.5.
Oh,
I would say.
that's interesting. Yeah, like half a realtor fee.
Can that work
And
in?
then what does the money go towards? Do we make that decision now?
What can it go towards?
It would just be it would just be,
revenue for.
Just for
housing authority.
for the housing, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
for the housing authority.
Yeah.
So within the housing authority, there's no specific direction that those funds are sent to or
Could,
included
but
in?
it's not,
It's better practice to not earmark that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think also, I think a lot of the money the housing authority, correct me if I'm wrong, is grant money, so that's all super specific on what we can spend it on, so maybe having some stuff that's not
Unrestricted.
earmarked.
And yeah, I think that is maybe the best argument is like having even a small source of like unrestricted revenue is useful.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing we all agree that seller responsible is what we're thinking. Is that-
Mhm. It'd be on the seller side, yeah. I mean, again, it's kind of like, unless you learn how for sale by owner, which I'm very good at. Then it's just a normal part of buying and selling homes. Okay, so I'm hearing consensus around 1.5% at the resale point. Any opposition? General agreement, okay.
you don't want to do that at starting at initial sale or second sale.
Not this round, right? So
Well, that's
initial sale would be this round, second sale would be when the folks who have these homes. Yeah,
Say second sale.
second sale.
Resell.
anybody advocating for this go around? Speak now. Okay. And then the program fee.
Payment to the housing authority.
Sorry, is that equitable to do it in
Kinda.
second sale? Like, are the people who are getting this first round like really, really benefiting from this first round versus the second round?
Well, again, is it, and also is it resale or initial? So if it's only at resale,
Yeah,
then everybody so all the new builds won't have this.
yeah.
No, wait, sorry. We own the homes. This is a good clarification.
Right.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So when
We're not paying on the first sale, right?
Yeah.
Because we are the seller. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's just on the, yeah.
Yeah.
People who will own these homes will have to
Okay,
pay when they.
When they sell, because it's on the
Yeah.
seller's.
it's on the side. Okay, great.
Sorry, that was really confusing.
Yes.
That
Yeah,
was a good.
okay, sorry, just, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sorry, I just want to make sure.
It's not currently when we own them. We are selling them. It is on the resale.
Yeah.
Of the seller, yeah. 0.5%. Program fee.
I'm not sure how much we can collect on a program fee. I also think that, you know, most of these people are gonna be first-time home buyers and they're already gonna have a bunch of monthly bills that they're gonna have taken housing classes and stuff to hopefully be ready for it, but throwing another monthly fee on top of them, I think is,
Especially with an HOA fee already as well.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I was looking, yeah.
yeah. Not for
Sounds
now.
like Not for now. We want to find other revenue.
We can change it
sources.
in the future.
Maybe it
Yes.
reevaluate up.
Yeah.
Not on these properties, but for future.
Okay.
Maybe, yeah.
Like one at a time kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because this is like, these affordability covenants, like they're, you know, attached to the property.
But do you feel strongly about program fees?
No.
Okay.
Sending the options.
Great. Okay, so I still heard staff direction to place a term limit in or to have the affordability covenants of perpetuity and implement a resale fee of 1.5%.
Mhm.
And no appetite for monthly program fee.
Mhm.
Okay? Does that feel good, Ann? Feel clear?
Good.
Great.
I forgot to include the memo for the next resolution. I sent that to you shortly after 4. This is a resolution to amend the Silverton Affordable Housing Guidelines. This is really minor amendments, such as updating legal descriptions of the Anvil townhomes, adding a clause that when we're calculating the maximum sale price for these homes, the homes have to meet a minimum standard of being in compliance with applicable building codes. Those ones are easy. We did add 2 initial qualification standards for the Anvil townhomes. And these are requirements of DOH who donated to this project. So when applicants apply, they need to prove that their principal, interest, taxes, insurance, and HOA fees do not exceed 35% of their monthly gross income. This is a requirement of Prop 123, and this is like the goal. We don't want people spending more than 35%. There is an initiative across the state to amend this statute to recall this provision because this is killing yield for people who like it costs 36%. You know, so there's an initiative at the state to get rid of that. If that does get removed from Prop 123, I would recommend that we revisit these guidelines and remove this requirement because this could potentially weed out otherwise really close to being eligible applicants. And then we added the requirement that applicants must complete a HUD certified home buyer education course within 3 years immediately preceding the closing date of the application period. Also a requirement by DOH. I think it's a good requirement for the housing authority as well. I need a motion to adopt this resolution, and if anyone has any comments, please let me know.
And for those in the audience, we're just running a little late on our housing authority meeting because we started late because of our technology challenges. So stay tuned. We'll be wrapping up that business shortly. Any questions from the board? Only that one page, right? So.
One page memo. Yeah, okay.
Would anybody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. Amending for resolution 2025-09, amending the Silverton Affordable Housing Guidelines. Is that?
Or do you want the bottom? We need the bottom section, right?
And I'm sorry, this memo wasn't included in your packet.
I got it, Amy. It was like the second email.
Yeah.
Got it.
It's make a motion to adopt resolution 2025-9, a resolution of Silverton Housing Authority of the Town of Silverton, amending Silverton Affordable Housing Unit Guidelines, section 107.4, 303.6, 304.2, and Annville Town Home Ownership Program Exhibit A.
Second.
Great, roll call please, Lena.
Yes.
Yes.
Trustee Schenker?
Yes.
Mr. Gardner?
Yes.
Mr. George?
Yes.
Mr. Harper?
Yes.
Yes. Great. Okay, moving on to the last resolution.
Resolution 2025-10 is recycled resolution to open a bank account for Annville Townhomes LLC. This time with First Southwest Bank instead of Bank of the Sun one. So you guys have seen this resolution before. This resolution will open an account with First Southwest Bank. It'll be a control account connected to our construction loan. So anytime we pull a construction loan draw, it'll go to this account. This account will be how we pay our contractors, etc. Right now I have Dana, Jim, and myself as signers on the account. Melina will be a supervisor. I'm open to changing who those signers are, if you would like to. Otherwise, I will need a motion to adopt this resolution.
My only question is why we're using a different bank?
The last time was Bank of the San Juans because that's our town bank.
Right.
We're using First Southwest Bank because that's the bank that our construction loan is at.
Okay,
And so when we
Yep.
pull the money, it'll go to that account.
makes sense.
Yeah, it's procedural.
Very good.
I'll move to adopt resolution 2025-10, a resolution of the Housing Authority of the Town of Silverton to take the necessary steps to open bank accounts for the authority and its entities with the First Southwest Bank and to authorize signatories and supervisors on said bank accounts.
Second.
Trying to kill you. Yes.
Trustee Wakefield?
Yes.
Trustee Shepherd?
Yes.
Trustee Gardner?
Yes.
Trustee George?
Yes.
Pro Harper?
Yes.
Yes. Great.
That's what I have for you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. The time is 5:37 and we'll adjourn the Silverton Housing Authority meeting. We will reconvene the town board meeting at 5:45. Yes. 5:45.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This thing long.
Great. All right. The time is 5:46. It's September 22nd. This is a regular meeting of the Silverton Board of Trustees. I'll call this meeting to order. Roll call, please, Melina.
Ms. Albertson?
Here.
Mr. Wakefield?
Here. Here.
Ms. Gardner? Here. George?
Here.
Here.
Okay.
Here. Great. Do we have any staff or board revisions to the agenda?
Staff does not have any revisions. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can. It's a little muffled.
Sounds like you're underwater.
Like you're
Gotcha.
swimming.
I'll fix that.
Aquarium.
Any board revisions to the agenda?
No.
No? Okay, move on then to public comment. So we'll take in-person public comment first. If you're in person, you'd like to make a public comment, you can come up to the podium. And then there's nobody on Zoom right now. We have a handy new timer, so that's exciting. So you'll have 3 minutes to make your comment and we'd love to hear from you.
Thank you. I'm gonna set a timer so I can keep track. My name is Shane Goranson. I'm here with my wife, Rebecca Goranson, our son Dutch. I'm here to make a comment about how the new land use code has affected us. Back in 2020, we bought a lot that had a use by right attached to it for vacation rentals. That has changed, obviously. And so part of what I want to discuss today was how that has manifested in some negative consequences for us. We've been planning and trying to get a house built at 505 Green Street since we bought the lot, essentially. And over time, our plans have evolved as the situation has evolved. But we've always been investing in Silverton and investing our resources in building a place that we think you can be proud of and Silverton will be proud of. During the course of us developing this property, there was a pause for wetlands. We had realized that we were part of the avalanche zone, and these things were, minor setbacks for us along the way. But when we went to apply for the building permit, we were told that the price to build it was not sufficient. So we had to go back to the drawing board at the last minute. And that resulted in a 36% jump in our cost to build the house, which is kind of blew all of our metrics out of the water. But we still wanted to be a part of Silverton. We still wanted to go forward with this house. It's a very efficient house, it's all electric. And that was important to us too, to consider the environment when we were building our house. And where we've ended up now is that without some more flexibility or without the rights that originally came with the property, we may have to sell this house that we've been working on for the last 5 years, essentially. It's been a part of our lives. It's been a part of our son's life, his whole life. We're really excited about this being a part of our family for the indefinite future, forever. And it would break my heart if we had to sell it because we could no longer afford to pay for the house. So what we're hoping for in the future is to have further conversations with the town of Silverton about some more options that we have that may not be in the land use code right now. So anyway, those are my, I thank you for your time. And if you have any questions for me, this is such an awkward conversation format. If you do have any questions for me, I'm happy to be available for those anytime. So I thank you.
Thanks, Shane.
Thank you.
So again, typically for public comment, we don't do a lot of back and forth dialogue. We have a point in our agenda where there can be kind of discussion direction if the board has any direction for staff or want to follow up with you.
Okay, well, then I'm happy to remain in the room.
And you don't have to stick around for that either. Like, we can direct staff, hey, can you follow up with the Goransons about blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
So. That's an option.
Okay, well,
Okay.
that, we'll see how long Dutch lasts.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We don't have any other in-person public comment and we don't have anybody on Zoom, so I will close public comment. Moving on to the consent agenda. Anything that staff wanted to highlight? Again, if there's anything in there the board wanted to pull out, you could do that and add it to the agenda.
Just highlighting, can you hear me okay now?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Just highlighting the August financials, and the sales tax report, as well as the, 2 notice of decisions there, a letter of support for Dark Sky and the resolution that you all directed last meeting for the 40,000 to the Silverton Family Learning Center.
Thanks, Gloria. You know, as I look at the sales tax report, I mean, it's like a high watermark for July. I think it would just be so, we talked about this at the chamber meeting. It would just be so great if maybe in the next year we could get more nuanced data on what that really means, right? Like, what are our local businesses and what are not? And I don't know if we can hire a contractor that can get a separate data use agreement or something, but that's not for you to think about, Gloria, but maybe in the future. I just think those numbers are so, they're just telling us such an incomplete picture of what's happening. Well, maybe we're just all ordering more stuff and that's why our refuse bill is all going up.
Yeah,
I was talking to Deanne and she did say that there are more businesses open downtown than she's seen in the past, and that might contribute to this higher sales tax that we're looking at.
Yeah.
Can like that cell phone data that she got be used for that report?
When we talk about the chamber stuff, I can bring up some stuff that we learned from just kind of people in town versus separating them from their dollars spending. Yeah, so just putting that out there. I look at that report and I'm like, that's a high water mark for July, but that's not always the story we hear from some of our local business owners. So from an economic development strategy,
Many of our,
Yeah.
most of our business owners are not,
seeing that.
they don't really agree with what we're seeing on the tax receipts.
And or Gloria's state of the town report later talks about inflation. So anyways, just, this is the consent agenda. So I don't mean to belabor it, but.
And then just a quick question, again, clarification for the Silverton Learning Center budget item. Just to clarify, the $40,000 is just for this year. It's not a continuous budget item,
That is correct. It is just for this year.
just to get back up and running and then, because 40,000 every year is quite a lot, but.
We
Yeah.
don't currently have it budgeted, but they will be
Okay.
presenting to the Finance Committee on October 20th
Okay,
to talk about that line item as directed by the board.
okay, great, thank you.
Any other clarifying questions on the consent agenda? All right, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second,
Okay, roll call, please.
Trustee Robertson?
yes.
Trustee Wakefield?
Yes.
Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
Trustee Gardner?
Yes.
Trustee George?
Yes.
Rachel Harper?
Yes.
Becker?
Yes. Great, moving on to agenda item 4. 5, there we go. Staff report.
Yeah, so I did include my state of the town slides in this meeting packet so people can look at that and go back to the 9th where I did that presentation on YouTube. So if there's any questions on that, feel free to send them my way. And then I also wanted to take this opportunity to check in with you all. Dana and I met with the recruiters on Friday and for the town administrator position. And I wanted to just kind of gut check some of the stuff that I'm giving over to them. So I did send you all, or you should have copies of the town administrator job description. And in there is listed a salary range, a suggested housing stipend, a suggested relocation assistance, and then just double checking that that job description fits what you all think a town administrator should do. And if I'm given the clear to give that to the recruiter to start putting together the recruitment package. So our goal is to get this done in the next, by mid-October, we want to be able to put this out probably early October and leave it open for 35 days is what they recommended. And then we would do in-person interviews probably mid-December.
And just to give the board a little sense too, when Gloria and I met with them, their typical process is they'll do kind of a first pass screening. And then we can have all of the recordings or transcripts of that. And they'll kind of do a first pass of ranking candidates, but then we can choose to invite however many we would like to for in-person interviews. And the way they scheduled in-person interviews, or obviously it is completely up to the board how we want to proceed. But a couple of things that came up that I thought were useful suggestions, and I've heard from community members that could be helpful, is they often like to schedule like a lunch meeting with staff, with the candidates, to kind of have that informal opportunity for staff and the candidates to interact, and then do like a community open house. And the candidates would kind of give a short presentation to the community and an opportunity for any community members to participate in that and just kind of meet and greet, but for all the candidates that we would have come. And then a formal interview process with the town board. And then they're also very willing and can recommend having another interview panel that's consisting of, you know, other leaders, community members, a handful of folks outside of this building. And I know that was successful when they were hiring Gloria as well. So that's kind of an overview of the process, and that would all happen within a couple days. And currently the timeline is for that to be mid-December.
Wouldn't do the formal interview before the like open house?
I think it would probably depend on the timing of bringing the candidates. Yeah,
Typically, they do it after. Typically, they invite, the open house is that first night. They usually do like a tour of the town and then the open house, and then the formal interviews are the next day.
and or if the board has any, we need a couple decision points. One, salary range, job description, and any other potential benefits we want to highlight for this recruitment position. And then in addition to that, if there's any other feedback the board wants to give to the recruiter for the process, this would be a great time. So let's start with the job description from Gloria's Friday update. Maybe we should start with the pay range first and then the potential other benefits. That's kind of an easier one to knock out. So Gloria has a proposed pay range in there. I went back and looked at kind of what the compensation study that had been done said, even though we'd like to revise it. But it still just gave an idea. So thoughts from the board on that pay range?
I guess if the 100,000, 115,000, is that too low or what?
I was kind of curious on making it a broader range.
Yeah,
It gives us quite a bit more flexibility.
and
Up or down?
Both.
yeah,
You know, I mean, maybe something from 85,000 to 120.
Can I make a
130?
suggestion
Yeah.
there on, we don't want, so this position, if you make it below 97, would then be paid less than the Public Works Director. So just wanted to let you know on those.
Thanks for that
Ranges.
thanks for that parity range. That's helpful. Yep. So maybe 100, so maybe not down, but a bigger range.
And you're thinking just in case, like, why would you do a bigger range?
because we might have more,
Qualified?
there might be a wider range of qualifications.
Okay.
But this is a board of 7 great minds on our folks that have done hiring, what's typical for kind of a upper lower bound.
I mean, we're doing-
30% is usually the typical range for this type of a position.
that's what we're,
So maybe we're good. Anyone want to argue something different? Or is there some search filter that 120,000 shows up and capture, you know, it's kind of like if you're searching for houses or whatever, there's very frequent parameters.
I mean, is it standard for town managers, administrators in other towns around us?
I mean-
When we look at.
Very widely.
well, it's also, other towns around us, we can't afford to pay what they pay, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Mhm.
I mean, I can get you
And
something.
it's kind of more of a question for like the finance committee, if you guys, like, you've had more recent discussions around salary ranges
Yeah.
of like what?
We're a little bit handcuffed.
Yeah, in the compensation study, you're saying this is what the compensation study said.
What we got from the compensation study, the only comparison towns they pulled was Uray and Bayfield.
Oh.
And so Bayfield was like 85 to 140.
Yeah.
And
140.
Uray was like 115 to 160 or something.
And just for instance, you're right, because we're doing some hiring as well, and due to, they posted some other positions recently. I mean, they pay 50% more than we do on average for any position.
Much.
At least that's not true for the 3 or 4, I think 4 that I looked at that were all different. They were paying up to 50% more, so, which we just can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, budget is way different than ours. Yeah.
Okay.
I feel nervous because it's like, it's hard to attract talent in the salary range. But it seems like we're sort of in the place of, this is what we can afford.
I think, well, another option, another point to consider is the housing stipend. I know that can really, again, it's not like the stipend is gonna like automatically get someone into a house here, be able to afford it. But I do think, at least in talking with the recruiter and stuff, it's something that still stands out in advertising that like, oh, okay, that's something that could cause someone to apply, if they know there's a housing stipend available. And so if we felt like the annual salary commitment was not affordable to us, offering the stipend allows us to potentially attract more candidates, but it's not a year-over-year commitment. So that's one option to kind of play with those benefits. Yeah, I don't know, other thoughts or arguments from the board? I mean, obviously, we can build our budget around what we want to do with this position, so it's kind of at the discretion of the board. What we can afford.
I mean, do we put it out and see like if we're attracting people to start and then reevaluate if we're just not getting anyone, or?
The recruiter was definitely open, if we felt like we were not getting the candidates we wanted, we can certainly reopen them. And when I did a review of town administrator salaries, looking at Lake City, Ignacio, Morrison, Ridgeway, Grand Lake, Georgetown, Blue River, Pagosa Springs, Kersey, Idaho Springs, Mount Crested Butte, Telluride, Uray, Winter Park, and Basalt. We don't talk about Basalt out of our range, but you have everything, and I looked at kind of population and similar types of, Grand Lake is an interesting comparison because they have very much a summer economy, heavy summer economy with an moderate winter. So in that range, you have everything from 80,000 at Lake City to 214,000.
Wow.
So things are in, it's more common, I'd say more distribution is kind of in the, like 115 and 130 is like Grand Lake, Ridgeway, Georgetown.
And Lake's much bigger.
Mhm.
Georgetown's not though.
Idaho Springs is 184. Blue River is 148.
What's Lake City, do you know?
Lake City is 80.
Oh, okay.
And again, this is the information I could find through CML. It's reported. It's not necessarily like what someone is currently getting paid to, but it's what's reported. So Ignacio's 94. So I don't know if that data helps anybody.
Yeah.
But we got to pick some numbers, put on the flyers.
I mean, it does kind of seem like you guys thought out the salary range and we're not really coming up with anything different. Am I reading that wrong?
Is anyone liking to make this was Gloria's first pass, so would anyone like to make an argument for a different than what we have? I think 100,000 as the minimum seems like the right
Mhm.
place to start. So how do we feel about that upper bound?
Lauren.
I guess we can see.
I mean, I guess we could make it higher than, yeah, and then if we attract somebody that's just a rock star and we want to really, try and make it work within the budget, but it'll really hinge on the interview process and preferences, and seeing who we get and making sure that they're vetted properly.
Gloria, we also could get some feedback from the recruiters of the range and kind of what they've seen. And if they really look at it and say, you guys are gonna really struggle, then that's feedback. But I mean, as far as like positions in town,
I will say that, yeah, I am on mute.
Yeah.
I started at 80,000.
yeah, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So we can put it out there, see who we get and reevaluate if.
So 110 or 1 to
1 to 115.
Okay.
Thoughts on the benefits, the relocation or moving housing stipend benefit? Again, I think we have some proven success with that being a useful recruitment tool, so I would advocate for a certain amount personally. Any other thoughts there on if that's something we want to do and how much?
Yeah. And would that be 10,000 in total, or is the 3,000 for reimbursable relocation costs in addition to the 7,000 housing stipend, or are they?
So it would be 2 sets of housing stipends. The first one would be given once they sign a lease, and that's 7,000. And then after a year of service, then they would get another housing stipend of 7,000.
Oh, gotcha.
And then the moving stipend would be on top of that.
Okay.
that's all.
And that's what we've done, that's what was done historically for the admin position previously in the public works position.
Okay.
That's fair.
Do we like the recommended amount and frame? Okay, I'm seeing yeses.
Yes.
Okay, great. Sounds like we like that amount. What about relocation expenses?
3,000 is fine.
Yeah.
I don't think it needs to be more than that.
Anybody want something different? Proposing something different?
And I came up with this number because I did a quote for what my moving expenses would be, and it was 3,000.
Yeah.
And would the board want to give this in kind of a lump sum? If they move themselves, they get to keep the cash. If they want to hire movers, they pay the movers, or we would reimburse expenses.
Reimburse.
Reimbursable, I think.
I would recommend that.
Reimbursing expenses?
Yes.
We're gonna advocate something different.
I mean, your time is valuable as well. Like they're probably either taking time between a role to move. I just like moving is generally expensive. So, but I know that'd be probably hard to like lump sum it would be. Well, I guess it wouldn't be administratively hard, but
Lump summing would probably be administratively easier than reimbursing an expense.
yeah, I guess that's true.
Do you want to reimburse moving expense and boxes and Home Depot receipts and movers, or do you want to write a check?
I think keep it simple, write a check, but
Write a check.
I'm hearing write a check. Okay, write a
Okay.
check. Giving that professional discretion. All right, is that help on the benefit side? Now you need any feedback on the job description?
Yes.
I didn't know grantsmanship was a word and I love it.
Did you make this up?
Maybe I'll check.
No, I think it's a great word, I'm sure.
We talked a little bit about the qualifications, kind of like what's a bare minimum. I think we all realize in a town like Silverton, we often get young, enthusiastic professionals that are at the early start of career, or we get folks that are ready to contribute their last hurrah. And both are really valuable. And so I think the recommendation from the recruiters was like master's degree preferred, right? It could be in anything. It kind of demonstrates completion of a master's degree demonstrates a type of person. But it'd be unrealistic to say you have to have a master's degree in public administration or public policy. So is there anything else? I think too, the way the current write-up is from the recruiter was kind of saying like relevant experience or leadership or nonprofit work could kind of count as experience, because currently they have it written up as at least 3 years of experience in kind of public administration or government or something like that. So I encourage them to leave it as flexible for us as possible while trying to recruit somebody that has some familiarity with
Yeah,
public policy,
if we put a-
policy, local
We put a
government.
master's degree required in 5 years, you know, we might not get.
Anyway,
I side on flexibility.
yeah, flexibility. So is there anything in the qualifications that anybody would really like to either add or feels too restrictive?
I mean, I don't know how like nitpicky you want to be here, but like, we can do business administration or nonprofit administration also works.
Sure. I like that suggestion. Gloria, did you hear that as adding in
Yep.
nonprofit administration? Yeah. I would potentially add communication. You know, I think someone who's done journalism or communication or something like that is,
For me, does it need to be local government? Like, could it be state or federal?
I would think any government, well.
Okay, it just says
I think,
experience in local government or related field. I'm just wondering if we wanted specify. Okay,
I would suggest local government. Federal doesn't usually transfer very well.
yeah.
Good to know.
Mhm.
political science, public administration.
And or any other comments on the duties?
I'm still looking at the qualifications. So
Mhm.
it says 3 years of experience in local government administration or related field, but it doesn't have a related field for their degree level. And maybe to make it more broad, instead of just adding all these specific degrees,
Sure.
you can say or related field.
Sure. So Gloria,
Yep.
maybe after planning, just add or related field.
All right.
I can see like quite a few degrees that could qualify someone for this.
So I have a bachelor's degree and at least 3 years of experience in local government administration or business or nonprofit administration, communications or related field, or an advanced degree in political science, public administration, business administration, planning, or related field. Master's degree preferred.
Yeah,
Great.
I like that.
Yep. And I think the last stuff is broad enough, you know, organize and administer various government programs, projects and activities. I think if someone can demonstrate project management, grant implementation, I think that seems good. Computer skills and abilities. Yeah, anything feel like there's a qualification missing or being too restricted?
Very welcome.
Right, yeah, great.
Um,
It sounds like there's support with those edits. Was there anything else we needed on that front?
Nope, that's what I needed to just gut check that with you all, that it was something that you all agreed on, and I'll give that over to the recruiter.
Great. Is there anything else from the board throughout the process that you feel like is really important based on the outline the recruiter kind of presented or I shared?
And do they do like a project? Did I miss that? Some sort of like,
They do a presentation
okay,
at the community open house.
okay. On a task or like their background?
Gloria, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, so it really depends. Sometimes it's only if you guys want that. But they get, like when I did mine for basalt, they asked about our relevant experience on capital improvement projects. And so that's one thing, and they just asked you to prepare for like a 5-minute presentation on that.
Great, so the board could potentially pitch them a particular issue or project or topic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going on to solve.
Yeah.
Of course.
Does the board have a preference on including that kind of external interview team? Community leaders?
Well, and I think you guys can decide that with the recruiter later. This is just a gut check right now, and there'll be more processes where you guys can talk to the recruiter.
Perfect, great. Let's keep.
Yeah.
And I do, having been through this process several times, I would caution all of us not to get too restrictive in our scope. Bigger net, catch more fish. We found one unicorn. I don't know if we're gonna find another one. And I think we need to keep that in mind before we really set our expectations with all these
Yeah.
lofty.
I think though, the last time we did it also, I feel like we did have. Like, there were good choices. It was like, obviously Gloria was the best choice, and I think that we got very lucky.
We did.
But I think the way that it was presented and maybe advertised last time also did sort of bring a couple of good choices to the top. I don't, obviously it's hard to say how they would have worked out because they didn't come and we got her and she's been incredible. But I think, going about it on the front end like this and making sure that how it's written and how it's presented, hopefully will attract the right sort of people.
I guess what I'm saying is I don't want anyone to get discouraged.
Oh, yeah.
If we walk into this in the first round, we're like.
Right. Oh, yeah. This is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I set our expectations.
You're absolutely right.
Realistic and understand that whether it's the wages or the requirements for education, we just need to be cognizant of what we're attracting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Whom we are attracting.
And encourage applicants, yeah. All right, well, this is a great place to get started. Again, they're working on their kind of flyer and advertising. I will say that having met with the recruiter, it actually was really reassuring. I'm very optimistic, guys. We're gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. And community members who are interested, pay attention. Larger public who's interested, pay attention. All right, thanks, Lori. Did you need anything else in staff reports, or does the board have any questions on the state of the town presentation or anything else in staff reports?
That's what I had. Can you switch the microphones real quick? So it's getting that garbly.
That better? Oh, just trying.
Man.
Or is that better?
Yes.
Peppermint.
Peppermint oil.
Just noting for the record that the rescinding of all fire restrictions is in the staff report as well from the sheriff, so. People can take down the signs.
I just wanted to call to attention, Steve Mead's report and his upcoming issues. I think, the upcoming issues was a little bit like, whoa, yeah, things are not great in terms of the repairs needing to happen. So just a note from our last budget meeting. Got to build stuff.
And capacity, like, I think that seemed like a call to the board to prioritize from a budget perspective and from a project capacity perspective, because that department particularly is vulnerable to managing people's passions and projects. And so making sure we're harnessing everybody's enthusiasm and energy, both in that department and in the community, and also what the budget priorities are.
Yeah.
Yes, so maybe, we can help with priorities. And recognizing we're having a lot of transition moving over Public Works Administrative Coordinator and FPR and clerk. So thank you, town crew. Thank you, Melina, for a whole bunch of changeover. Anything else from staff or the board on staff reports or state of the town? Okay, all right, moving on. Let's see, don't have any presentations and proclamations. Moving on to business item 7A. This is a public hearing resolution 2025-22, a resolution of the town of Silverton to amend the equivalent to residential rates or EQR for water and sewer rates, defining the EQR multiplier for commercial and public buildings. So this is a public hearing. We'll hear from staff. We'll have public comment. If you're on Zoom and you want to make a public comment for this public hearing, you can click the raised hand button during that time of the public hearing and we'll promote you to panelist. So we'll have staff, public comment, trustee discussion, deliberation. So take it away, staff.
Sure. I'll start this one off. So this is amending our resolution 2024-29, which is the resolution instating the EQRs for water and sewer base rates. And we were directed to schedule the July 23rd Utility Committee meeting to discuss the resolution before you. So this is really defining out those square footage of our commercial buildings. The first one is the square footage only includes retail space and not detached storage space. If the detached storage space does not have access to water. And then the second part of it is a breakdown. It goes up to 1,000 square feet, 1,000 to 3,000 and 3,000 or more. So that was what the utility committee had discussed, and we are recommending approval.
Thanks, Gloria. All right, do we have any public comment related to this public hearing on the EQR, changes to the EQR rate? Again, if you're on Zoom, you can click the raise hand button and we'll promote you to panelist. All right, seeing none, we'll close public comment, trustee discussion, deliberation, comments. I just note for the public, I think this is a great example of how the board is very willing to hear feedback and make changes, right? We're always trying to kind of determine overall priorities, what's best for the town and the community, how it impacts individuals, individual businesses, property owners, et cetera. So I appreciate the thoughtfulness of the board in revising this, and I appreciate the community engagement to kind of share how this was impacting them and the nuance of their situation. And so any further board discussion, or you're welcome to make a motion.
I'm also glad that we're working on meter replacements, and I see the target is to replace 200 meters in 2026. So amazing job. That would be great to just get back to meters. So
Those would, the first round would be through commercial. So
Their users.
another temporary,
yeah,
still commercial.
Right. And again, reminding everybody, meters does not necessarily equal lower rates.
yeah. I mean,
And it also doesn't mean that there's not going to be any EQR, correct?
Utility
Going away.
utility committee.
Right?
I mean, the what?
EQR is not going away, correct?
Maybe.
Because it was a question.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta get your meters in first. So it's gonna be a mixed bag for a few years.
Well, and just for instance, I guess theoretically, you know, if we got everybody onto meters, and, you know, right now we do have a lot more businesses that stay open year round, but 20 years ago, all the businesses shut for 8 months. And if it's solely metered and we don't collect anything.
Yep.
So just, there's got to be a, you know, a base.
Well, and that reflects the reality that like the majority of this costs are
Right.
actually fixed costs.
Right.
Right, they're not the water costs.
But also, making sure that people aren't paying more than what they're using on top is the goal.
What we discussed the utility committee a few weeks ago was that process of how do we define the different base rates for different like sizes. And so that will be worked out. So yeah, there will be a base rate with a certain amount of usage and then your meter.
And hopefully the work that's gone into the EQRs and thinking about different types of things in town will help inform that future differentiation of base rate and what types of things we have.
That's the big project that John Sarkis gets to work on.
What's that?
That's the big project that you get to work on. I was hoping you'd bring your show and tell item again, because
Actually, it got put in today.
that's what I assumed.
Nice.
Yeah.
I should have some information here in a week or so. So,
Great,
Awesome.
data is helpful.
I think I distracted us from the public hearing
That's all right.
at the end, sorry.
It's for discussion, so you're able to discuss related items. But again, right now, this is a public hearing related to this resolution that changes the EQR kind of based off of square footage for commercial and public. And again, for anybody listening, this came up with kind of the discussion around like, well, your storage unit shouldn't count as your square footage for your building, et cetera. So
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 2025-22, a resolution of the town of Silverton to amend the equivalent to residential rates for water and sewer rates, defining the EQR multiplier for commercial and public buildings.
great, roll call please, Selena.
Trustee Halverson?
Yes.
Trustee Wakefield?
Yes.
Trustee Schnitger?
yes.
Trustee Gardner? Yes. Trustee George?
Yes.
President Harper?
Yes.
Becker?
Yes, great. All right, agenda item 7B, first reading of ordinance 2025-12. This is an ordinance of the town of Silverton amending chapter 13, article 1, section 13-1-90, and amending chapter 11, article 2, section 11-70 of the Silverton Municipal Code regarding the reimbursement for main extensions and system improvements. And Clayton, I think we have a memo from you.
Good evening, guys. How are you?
Great, how's it going?
So this is a resolution regarding the infrastructure. You do have a memo for me. Let me make sure I just accidentally clicked off that. Give me a second. I apologize. And what would the board like to know? I'm sure you poured over this memo multiple times last night for recreational reading. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Or would you like me to just kind of tell you my piece and take any questions?
Board preference?
Yeah.
I think, yeah, go ahead, Clayton. Get everybody on the same page.
Okay, so you were aware that it was the Housing Authority Committee, I believe, was met and just to discuss this. And this is one of those instances where myself and members of staff have been looking at some issues we have with the current regulation that were brought to light based on ongoing applications, et cetera, that exist within Silverton. What I went back and did was take a deep dive on the two sections that looked at infrastructure. I created I obviously quoted those sections, and I created an analysis of why we need to amend these sections, in my opinion. The most important being that they're internally inconsistent and conflict with each other. Another issue being that there is a bunch of administrative burden here that's implicit within the assertions made in the particular context of the infrastructure reimbursements. However, there's no administrative guidance on how we're going to conduct that, who's in charge of that, what programs we have to have in place because of that. And so it basically looks to me like this was originally created as some sort of ordinance with without an enabling ordinance, meaning yeah, this is on the books, but we don't really know how we're gonna make it happen if somebody were to come to us with a formal application for an infrastructure reimbursement according in any of these two sections. So what we did was we did that comparison analysis. I presented this to the committee, and they recommended what I recommended, which is change both sections of the code to mirror each other, and basically put more of the onerous of these infrastructure reimbursements into case by case basis, circumstantially driven development agreements, which is what a lot of other municipalities have done to address the issues they've had with these previous infrastructure type clauses in their code. And so I don't know, again, I don't have the history of why these got put on the books and why they got put on the books without any enabling language around them. I just know that, looking at them, they're problematic in that they could cause issues with the town if somebody were actually put in a formal application for this. And so staff is suggesting that we repeal the existing language and replace it in their entirety with the new infrastructure reimbursement language that will allow extensions to be repaid to developers, but that we would be doing that through like a contract development type agreement approved by the board, and not some unknown process that exists in the code today.
Thanks, Clayton.
And sorry, just for clarification, it was the Public Utilities Committee that we heard this.
Great.
My fault. I apologize.
No, you're fine.
It was a great group of people. I recall that, and they had great questions, and any questions that you have, I'm happy to answer.
Great, thank you. Yeah, thoughts from the board, questions or comments that came up in utility?
Did everybody read the email
Yes.
that we got
Mr.
this
Neal?
afternoon?
Yeah, from Joe.
Okay.
Mhm.
And I saw that staff were not included on that, so I forwarded it over.
Okay.
Great,
Oh,
thanks.
excellent.
Yeah.
And just again, for the record, we got some public comment from Mr. Jeff Diener about the infrastructure reimbursement policy, so that might be something the trustees are considering.
I asked a question to Clayton during our Public Utilities Committee meeting around is this, fairly typical? What do other towns do? And I mean, you can clarify, Clayton, but I was satisfied with the answer that yes, this is something he has taken from other municipalities, and that this is a simpler way to do this sort of reimbursement in infrastructure. Thanks.
Melina, visual again, Melina. Thanks. Yeah, I was actually fishing for some ideas on this when I went to the Colorado Municipal League, because I was like, how do other people can do this? So I tried to approach a couple of folks. I approached some planners. I talked to JJ from CPS, who used to work with us. And I think what struck me in thinking about all this is that Silverton's pretty darn unique, because we have so much property within our municipality that is currently not serviced by public infrastructure. And that's not necessarily that similar to surrounding communities. And so that definitely came up as kind of well, how much should we base on other communities' policies? Because even Uray or Ridgeway, they have stuff on hillsides and they have dead end streets and whatever, but a lot of that was done time ago. And so it worked out differently. So that was just kind of an interesting point, is having a Silverton's approach in all this, because we're so unique. And I think the hillside brings an interesting case study or really multiple properties in town where it's not like one property owner or developer owns a whole bunch of property and therefore is going to put in the infrastructure and then recoup the costs of that on the sale of the lots. We have some instances of that, but the hillside or other places, that's not the case. So what we have is instances, it's even happened on my street, where someone at the end of the line put in the water and sewer, and later on users are gonna benefit from that. And so how do we help manage a process where people pay their fair share? And in my mind, you're kind of answering two questions here with this policy. How do we make sure that everybody pays their quote unquote fair share over time? And two, how do you incentivize private individuals or developers, big D or little d, to put in the infrastructure that the town does not have the funding to be able to do? So those are kind of the two vetting questions I would give to the board is, does this policy, can we apply it fair so that people pay their fair share over time? And does it help create a clear structure and framework to incentivize that infrastructure to get put in?
Well, I think what this does clarify is the mechanism in which to do that, because each project itself is so unique that it is under a development agreement versus like a set structure of rules, timelines within the code. So that we're able to evaluate each project on its own.
So it brings in that nuance.
Yeah. It's like when you have the 25 years, like that doesn't apply for every project, right? Like you keep like setting out those specific guidelines doesn't always work for every infrastructure project.
And I think that's a great point. I mean, the other point obviously is that one of them said 25 years and one of them said 10 years. And so depending on what the person cited as their authority for the application for infrastructure reimbursement, we could be doing some sort of 10-year repayment or 25-year repayment window, which again, very inconsistent. And I'll point the board also towards the language in the proposed language is it creates a ton of flexibility for the board. Where I see this working is in tap fees, either prepayment or other provisions. And it says basically that you still have control over, what mains get put in so that we can make sure that that our, public works director, Mr. Zarkis, can review the plans and make sure that that development agreement has all the infrastructure that would be approved by town staff, et cetera. And so it really puts the board in the driver's seat as far as making sure that people down the line have to pay their fair share. And it doesn't pigeonhole you into a certain type of project. If you look at, Mr. Diener pointed this out again, but he pointed out, nearly a year ago, I believe, that our current infrastructure rules just wouldn't work, not only for his project, but for other projects. And I do also caution the board that it's okay to consider, public input, and Mr. Diener, I think, has everybody's best interest, the town's interest here, but he's also a private party that's developing in the middle of a possible development at this moment. And so, I would just caution the board to take, objective viewpoints on this, and consider, what the staff is bringing to you, and address anything else as objectively as possible. Everybody who looks at this is going to have an opinion, and typically their opinion is going to be perspective driven, on what they're building and how they want it to look and how they want to get repaid. My perspective is, how do we best protect the town and individual different types of developments that we're going to see in the near and long future.
Thanks, Clayton. Thoughts from the board?
So are we approving this right now? I'm just trying to.
First reading.
This could
First reading, okay.
be a first reading of this change. I think for me, I'm super in favor of tightening this up because it was a big problem that we had conflicting areas of the code. The thing that I'm stuck on this is I'm in agreement, Clayton, that like our first priority is like protecting the town, right? And seeking out the best interest in the town. I also have a goal of code being pretty predictable and also incentivizing the kinds of development we want to see happen. I think that's always been my philosophy with the land use code, et cetera, that we want to try to like make it easier to do the things we want to do and harder to do the things we don't want to do. And I'm curious, you know, certainly based off of Jeff's comments, but also just my own thinking about this. Like, the code is proposed. If I were a person that was thinking about extending infrastructure, it offers very little assurances to me that I would get reimbursed. It leaves a lot of discretion up to the town without a lot of clarity on the specific mechanisms. And again, you could argue that that would come through a development agreement. But when I think of a Silverton specific solution, again, what we're often dealing with is like one property owner or I keep saying the little person or the small person or whatever, but like we're not negotiating. Very rarely are we negotiating and creating a development agreement with an entity where a development agreement necessarily makes sense. I don't know. That just tends to be my suspicion of seeing what different parts of land are being developed. So my concern with this as presented is it doesn't appear to give very many assurances to someone who might be interested in extending it, to the property owner at the end of the line that says, I'm going to extend it. And now I have to do 10 more complicated things with town. And so how many hoops are we making people jump through? And maybe those hoops are worthwhile, quite possible, open that argument. But I just still want to make sure we're creating code that allows the little person to fund the kinds of things that we want to see happen. See, and I don't know if this gets there.
Yeah, I actually feel like, I don't know. I thought about this in the Public Utilities Committee. I was like, well, this probably actually makes it less of a like burden to figure out for both the board and town to figure out exactly what we want those like hoops to be. And that a development agreement can be worked out administratively. And so it's almost like this could give people more options to figure out what is possible for the project that they're proposing. Versus if we're restrictive and like prescriptive in our code, then there's only so much one can do. Because that includes timeline, how it would be reimbursed.
That gives a lot of latitude
Mhm.
for an administrative approval.
Yeah.
And we did just change, and you know, the fact that it's at 10 years in one part and 25 in the other is, I mean, must have been an oversight, because I feel like we just changed it from, John Seitz came in and he said, we should change this from 10 to 25 years because people aren't going to want to, in infrastructure, you know, somebody, you know, they think someone's going to wait 10 years, which I don't know how realistic that is, but that was the suggestion at that time. And I don't know if having something that is that vague and then having it be taken care of completely administratively is, I mean, something that the board wants to do, because that could lead to,
We'll still have to come before the board, but the details of the agreement would still have to be
Okay.
worked out administratively.
Well, let's verify. Is that the case? Hey, Gloria, you've gone through a couple development agreements. Do you want to add any insight here on how it's played out at the staff and board level?
I mean, each one is unique.
Yeah.
Trying to think through what you want me to cover with those.
Well, I guess my question is, in the several development agreements, has each one come before the board, or have some of them been negotiated out at the staff level?
No, they all come before the board.
Yeah, great. So there's that assurance.
Yeah.
John, did you have any insider experience to share here and from a public works perspective, or you know both this community and you've worked in a much larger community?
Yeah, I mean, to clarify the language, since it does kind of headbutt each other.
Yeah.
You need to get that clarified. And then I think I understand your point where you want to make it feasible for the small guy to come in and do a project.
Yeah.
But then you don't want to forget the risk that the board is on the hook for. And maybe risk is not the word, but there is that protection there. Yeah. It's a delicate balance to get everything, but I think the language does need to be clarified a little bit better. And I think it's up to the board. You can go 25 years, that's a long time. 10 years is, is there a balance other than that that could work for the board?
And one thing I'd point out is in talking about, the different size projects, there is specific language and it was intentional. We didn't just take, one municipality's language and put it into ours. We did try to curate it for Silverton. And one of the ways we did that is by talking about contracts with persons versus development agreements with developers. And so the option there is a contract with a person. And again, I'm just bringing up the point. I'm happy to rewrite this and make this look however you want it to look as the board. But I just wanted to make sure that part of that was being at least looked at, because that did come up amongst discussions with staff. And one of the reasons that we like this language is that it allows a single entity at the end of a road to say, hey, I'm this person, I want to pay for this, but I want to make sure that like the next 10 people that come along and build these houses, pay me back. And we say, that's great. You're this person, let's sign this contract. And in this contract, we're going to, for example, agree that these tap fees are going to be this much for each person, and you're going to get reimbursed this percentage. And we just raise tap fees for that block until that person is paid back. And then we have the flexibility, if you want it, to say, we can do this for this many years. As an attorney looking at this, I like it because we're not painted into a corner as far as, administrative timelines and applications, et cetera. I understand where the, board's comments are coming from. And again, I'll change it to make it look however you guys want. I just wanted to make it clear that was contemplated, that this is not just for big developers. This is for mom and pops and shops and residential and alike, and that we could come up with any sort of written agreement, contract, development agreement, whatever you want to call it, that makes sense for that particular application. And that's really hard to do with a lot of detail, because the more detail and parameters we put on it, the less scenarios fit into it, if that makes sense. And that's kind of what we see with.
You're not on mute, but I think we lost you.
Did you lose me? Can't hear me?
No.
Clayton, I can hear you.
Okay, well.
You were speaking to the level of detail.
Oh, yeah, I just think the more detail you put in, the more people are cut out. Depending on how you do it, you could create so much detail and parameters that we create a detail that makes a certain situation untenable. And then now we're doing special use permits. It's just, what I'm saying is I like broad language from a legal perspective. From your perspective, to make it look how you want, I'll do it however the board wants. It's not really it's not personal. I just wanted to make sure the board understood that this could be a one-on-one contract with an individual. And the town's speaker system needs to get flipped again. You guys are garbled.
Please hold. Thanks, Melina. Is that better?
Yes, crystal clear.
Great. Okay, so we have what's proposed in the memo. We have some comments that were shared. A point from Mr. Diener in his email is just the more clarity could potentially reduce staff time in answering questions, but maybe a way to move forward. Like, I think it's kind of critical that we adopt something right now, because there's so much inconsistency. Somebody could come tomorrow and it's like 10 years, 25 years. So I would be in favor of adopting what we have presented, but I would be kind of curious to play this out a little bit. Like if it's proving that it's not as clear as we think it needs to be, it's limiting certain people from coming forward and say, oh, I want to extend the street on my street, or I want to extend the water and sewer. Or if staff is getting a lot of more questions that are showing us that we need more specificity or clarity around this, then maybe that's a time to revisit it. I don't know.
I think we've
Thoughts?
been pretty good at that anyway, or we're trying to be better at that. So I think that we could probably adopt this and then, yeah, like a lot of the, what we just saw. We had to go back and revisit it and it didn't take long, but we get something on the books that clarifies what the mess that we kind of have now.
Mhm.
And yeah, staff comes back and they don't like it, then we can change it. So.
Or public comment.
I agree. And I also think that in times with the code, being too specific can actually make it more difficult and make people jump through more hoops than the alternative. So, yeah, I'd like to play it out and see how it goes. This.
And Gloria, do you feel like from a staff perspective, I mean, obviously that's what staff's recommending, from a staff perspective, you think you could work out a development agreement? You have one party that comes forward and says, I'm extending 10th Street or something, and you're writing a development agreement with that party that then would impact future entities through their tap fees. Like we could do that through a development agreement. Is that true?
Yes, and probably more specifically through that development agreement than we could with what we had in our current code.
Great, thank you. Okay, any other thoughts for the good of the order? So let's see, as a first reading, Clayton, if we wanted to, wait, I'm trying to find the language.
Amend or?
Is this an amendment or a repeal?
It's an amendment in that it's a repeal and replace in entirety. It's not going to change the application of the ordinance using your language. If you want to say amend the language in its entirety or repeal and replace the language in its entirety, both are good.
Okay, so we could entertain a motion to amend the current code and replace it with the language as presented in the staff report. But we have to specify that we're amending chapter 13, article 1, section 13-1-90 and chapter 11, article 2, section 11-270. Is that correct?
That would be preferred. Yes, ma'am.
Anybody?
Do you need to read the whole, I can read the whole thing.
I think so.
Great.
For public record.
Yep. So I'll make a motion to amend ordinance, approve ordinance 2025-12, an ordinance of the town of Silverton amending chapter 13, article 1, section 13-1-90 and amending chapter 11, article 2, section 11-2-70 of the Silverton Municipal Code regarding the reimbursement of Main Street extensions and systems improvements.
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Ms. Robertson?
Yes.
Mr. Wakefield?
Yes.
Mr. Schenker?
Yes.
Mr. Gardner?
Yes.
Mr. George?
Yes.
Pro Tem Harper?
Yes.
Yes. Great. Thanks for the good discussion. All right, agenda item 7C, wastewater treatment plant preliminary engineering report contract.
Oh, this is fun.
John Zarkis, do you want to take this one?
It's
Since you're in
also
the
coming out
room?
of CML. If anybody needs a reason to go to CML,
I know we had questions for you, actually.
all kinds of fun things came out of CML. All right, go ahead, John.
I still agree that this is a good second look, regardless of whether it saves us $1 million or 5 million. Hopefully on the 5, but I think it's always a good option to take another look and get another set of eyes on it. And not saying that the first one didn't look at this, but it's always a good call to take another look. So I would be in very much supportive of this. And if any of you have any questions, please fire them at me, because that's what I'm here for. But I do really think that this could lead us down a path that is not a lot more financial beneficial for the town and for the residents.
Thanks, John. So this contact came out of the Colorado Municipal League. I went to a presentation in particular on wastewater treatment, especially for smaller communities. And this engineering firm, and there was a bond attorney there presenting. And again, I think the overall message I got was just kind of explore all of your options, and especially as a small town, because I think the thing I've always been worried about is we're so small and we don't know what we don't know. And so making sure we're talking to enough people to get a big enough picture.
And for an $18 million project.
Exactly, for an $18 million
Or 20
project.
or 50.
And so making sure that it's the right sized approach for Silverton while it's still meeting all the standards that we need to meet. And so, yeah, it was really helpful conversation and looking at funding sources. And I think engaging with the municipal financial advisor has been helpful to kind of think through funding and what they might mean for rates. So I feel like we're in a better position of information in terms of rates and all that. But yeah, so other thoughts from the utility committee on this? Other things you wanted to bring up? We have a killer utility committee, by the way. We have, you guys have had a busy year.
By echoes, I mean, you always want to get more than one quote. Number one, and number two, investing a little bit now, recognizing big gains later on. To me, it's a no-brainer, and I'm thanking everybody from CML, your conversations there, to John pulling this off. So thank you.
Yeah, I agree.
One question I still have that I just would really like to keep in everybody's mind as we move forward and pressing the engineers on this. I know we don't have the data, but I want to make sure that we don't box ourselves into a system that doesn't support growth, right? Because I think we all have a vision. We've talked about it on priority setting. We've talked about it for 2 boards that I've been on now, is like a desire for more residents here. And so how do we walk that balance of we need to accommodate our high visitor days while also accommodating what the future growth could be? And again, Gloria and I have talked about this a lot, like we are limited because we don't have a water study or we don't have, you know, a growth study or anything like that. But just, I would just request that as we continue to talk to these engineers, we keep that in their minds, even if we don't have the data to inform them of what we'd like that growth to be. Yeah, I think it would be a missed opportunity if we just build a system that exactly meets our needs right now.
Can I comment on that a little bit? So I've been through one of those in Montrose, and we done a big maintenance expansion, and it was for a 50-year timeline. And when I left, we were still 40+ years out. So those estimates, and that is a good conversation to have with whoever we pick.
Yeah.
But you always build in that things are going to change.
Yeah.
So you have a 25-year growth capacity where you can add processes along the way to increase that. So that is definitely.
It's on your radar.
It's on my radar, yes. So that we're not, like you said, okay, we do this and all of a sudden we get 5,000 people moving here and then we're going, oh crap.
All over again.
Exactly. So yeah, that's on the radar, definitely.
Yeah.
So.
Great. Thank you. Gloria, I saw you off mute for a minute. Did you have anything you wanted to add in there? No. Other thoughts from the board on any of those priorities? Okay, I'm seeing a lot of head nodding. So are we is there general
Yeah.
favor with moving forward with this preliminary engineering report?
Yes.
All right, go for it.
I'll make a motion to engage with GMS for a preliminary engineering report for the wastewater treatment plant replacement project.
Second.
Great. Roll call, please, Lena.
Trustee Albertson?
Yes.
Trustee Whitson?
Yes.
Trustee Schiff?
Yes.
Trustee Gardner?
Yes.
Trustee George?
Yes.
Richard Harper?
Yes.
Director.
Yes. Oh, I forgot. I did want to note for the record in the packet, because I don't want anybody to be misled. The memo currently says It's in the overview. It says even under optimistic grant funding scenarios, the projected impact on utility rates is estimated to be an increase of $10 to $12 per month. I think that was a misstatement because the information from Elemental, the $10 to $12 per month was for like additional maintenance costs for a mechanical system, but the proposal for rate increases, if we have to go with an $18 million system, is much greater than $10 to $12 per month. Just so the public is clear. It's not just $10 to $12 per month. So anyways, for note. Okay, moving on, agenda item 8. Discussion and direction items. This is 8A noise ordinance information for the board. I think we have another memo from Clayton. So Clayton, I'll pass it off to you again.
All right, you guys are flying. So I think this is discussion on noise. I have a memo, but there's no ordinance
Just a discussion at this
proposed.
point, yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
And
just
so
discuss.
I just wanted to clarify that. One thing I will say, if you look at the staff, this is something I missed. If you look at the staff questions, so this is kind of highly complicated, especially now with the new Hobbs case, which came out literally between the time that I wrote that memo and this meeting. The application of that case is not as straightforward as it may sound. So when you say that there's a bunch of questions here and then answers, one of the questions is, can the municipality issue a form of noise permits for profit entities? And it says no, but I don't think that's 100% correct. I think there's certain situations where a for-profit entity like a music festival could be a lessee or a permittee, not because you issued it in the noise permit, but through a different special event permitting or other type of things, that it would become a subdivision or a lesser separate entity of the town, but basically step into the town's shoes and be able to and be allowed to get a noise permit and violate the current standard. So I don't think that it's a hard no on all private entities. It depends on where that takes place and what sort of contract or relationship they have with the town, whether or not we can grant them abatement from the noise requirement. And so I wanted to clarify that before I fielded any questions, because I think that's one of those ones where people are going to start saying, well, what about folk festivals and what about our events? And the answer is, if it's a town event on town property, I think that we're going to be able to issue noise permits, and I'm working with staff in the near future to create a simplified noise permit application so that we're not going through like a huge special use permit application every time we need to get something done. So that's my spiel on that. This is, I'm sure, going to generate some discussion, but subject to your questions, to clarify where we're at with the law, what we can and can't do, just let me know. I'm standing by.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
And I wanted to add to this because we took some decibel readings from Summer Sounds on 9/12, and those are in your packet. And then we meant to take some from El Bandito on the 20th, but weren't able to get there. So we hope to do that next week to get those noise decibel readings. But really, I know that the board had requested just more information on the state statutes and noise readings or noise in general. So we wanted to just provide this to you all for that context.
Thank you.
So if a for-profit restaurant had music playing and a nonprofit sponsored it and partnered, can they apply for, if we got a noise permit, could they apply for that?
I mean, it's possible. The issue becomes, is it an actual, is it a, single use sort of special permit, right? Like if we're just trying to get around the statute, say like, some sort of nonprofit supports or partners with a profit organization that runs a concert off of private property, that actually makes money, or there's a charge, or, the band's getting paid and the town has nothing to do with it and it happens every Saturday. Probably not, because of course there's ways to try to circumvent the requirements. The Hobbs case makes it clear that, a private person could basically sue the town for injunctive relief on on certain situations. And so that's why, it's very important that when we start getting these noise permits, that the town staff looks at it and that I look at it, so that we're not creating liability in areas where we don't need to. There are other situations I could think of where a private party and a nonprofit could partner with the town and request a noise permit. Like if one of the things that come to mind is rodeos. So there's lots of private parties involved with rodeos, and there's money involved. That typically happens on like county or local fairgrounds or rodeo grounds, and there's nonprofits involved as well. And those are, even if they're occurring like every other Thursday or whatever of the month, they're not. Those are, at least at the moment, largely thought to be within the bounds of the rule and not against the Hobbs case. So again, this is very case by case specific based on what the applicant is doing, how often they're doing it, who they're partnered with, if they're a licensee, lessee, or permittee of the town or an entity of the town. It's very complicated. And, at this point with Hobbs, I'm advising the town to err on the side of caution versus pushing the limits on this. I'm typically very risk averse, but Hobbs is very clear. And I'm not going to advise the town to, dabble in areas that look black and white.
Yeah.
Question for you, Clayton. How does this play out with rental of Kendall for private events, a wedding or whatever? Would that be covered under like a leasing and it's town-owned property?
Yes, I think it would. And so that's one of the first things that came to mind is, what property do we have that somebody who leases it or rents it is going to be, considered an entity of the town? And Kendall Mountain is a perfect example. If there's a wedding and they want to ask for a noise permit because they're going to have, a band there until 9 o'clock, then great.
So Melina or Lori and Melina, would that be something that's part of just the wedding application? They just have to, like, we don't have to make that a separate thing. We could just include it as part of the wedding rental that we're giving them permission.
When you get Kendall, you can have a
And we haven't discussed that yet with Clayton yet on how that would work.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
It's a possibility. I say
the
it's
first easy one. That's the first easy one I'd love to encourage taking care of, is just like rental agreements for Kendall, for events. That's town-owned property. That seems fairly clear cut. If we can figure out a way that works.
I mean, could we just add that to the existing rental agreement, just put it in the contract that they're allowed to play music until whatever time? Because most weddings over there go until 1 a.m.
Yeah.
And
People-
no one knows, no one hears it.
Oh, nobody ever explained,
Nice and happy.
It's, yeah.
but
People also use the park, the Macy Park, and so.
Yeah.
And restaurants, I mean, we'll be crippling so much live music. I just,
Well, I think,
Well-
but town properties, I think is like, if we can, I agree, but I think if we can do town properties first,
Right.
make it automatic or as opposed to as possible. If Kendall, since its location, we want to say midnight or 1 there, and then everywhere else is 10, because that's when Bruce enforces,
right.
that's when he starts to enforce stuff, right? It's 10 o'clock.
For town-owned property. So again, let's first tackle the easy one, which is town-owned property, because it seems like we have more freedom. So maybe directing staff to just make sure that our current rental agreements or processes cover the town in terms of the state statute and the Hobbs decision for town for folks that are renting from town property, right? Is that board intent that like, just check that box? Okay, private entities and live music in town, discuss.
Yeah. Just for myself, looking at the state statute, just like a lot of frustration there, confusion. 7 PM for all districts, even commercial, when most restaurants don't even stop serving food until 9 PM. It's just a bit mind-boggling to me.
And I do
And
want to define that, sorry, I do want to define that is 25 feet away from the property. Those
Right,
decibel levels.
but 55, I feel, I don't know, do you think that would allow businesses to play music inside? It's just 55. I don't know.
Yeah, so in front of the stage at Summer Sounds, it was 75 decibels.
Okay, so some businesses technically can be in this parameter of 55,
Yes.
like most of them, you think?
I don't want to make that assumptions, but we're going to do more decibel readings around town.
Okay,
That'd be great. I'd like to make a staff request. I don't know how the rest of the board feels, is that if there is a music event being held, could we get some decibel readings at that event at the 25 feet? So then we know what we're talking about. If we don't have the data
yeah.
to know if we have a violation or not, then we're just kind of spinning around.
I'm really surprised that right in front of this stage is 75 decibels. That completely changes what, because I would have thought that was like 100.
It
So
was
that's great to know.
State.
Or, well, but even,
50 feet.
okay, but so
But
that's,
it's, you know, it's
It's 25.
exponentially, but it's based on a logarithm.
but that also does, I anywhere in front of the stage, I would have thought was higher. So that does kind of change. I'm like, oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
25 feet behind the stage is 65 decibels. So I guess it really depends also where the speaker is inside. And then I'm looking at a nightclub, that would be 82 decibels for 25 feet away. Which, I don't know.
It'd be great to have some more data
Mhm.
at other live music.
Yeah.
And a lot of local businesses get around this by directing sound to, so like, yeah, it's 25 feet, but then there's also some common sense involved here. If you're going and standing in the middle of the road 25 feet away and your house is 150 feet away and you're complaining about the sound, you might not have standing to do that. And so there's so much complex unresolved litigation surrounding this, that I think that's where, we can have local businesses direct music towards the street and also can use, sound dampening. I'm not a musician or whatever, but sound dampening padding on the walls, like whatever they do, to direct sound to a certain location and not out towards people's homes where you're going to get the complaints. In any event, it is very frustrating. But there are things that businesses can do to the issue. The really unfortunate part is that Salida pushed the envelope here and created a terrible case precedent that is against private businesses that are, that violate this noise abatement act. So
And it was
we're kind
different.
of tied.
It was different than all the lower courts ruling, like it.
Yeah.
It was outside though, the Salida one, where a lot of these events are indoors.
So it seems like this issue, I'm just noticing body posture and tenure here. I get the sense from the board that there's an intention to try to continue to allow live music to happen in town, in buildings with private events. That's all these like senses I'm seeing.
Yes, but the reasonable time, 9, 10 PM, I think, absolutely.
I mean, if we're gonna go and use this that's been presented to us, we're 14 minutes after 7, we should be all in violation.
Yeah,
It's silly.
it is.
And I feel bad and thank you for all the information that's been provided. But this has really nothing to do with the case that's been brought directly in front of us. With a commercial area, a residential, a residence in a commercial area, and their next door neighbors. I mean,
And we did receive an email today from the complainant. I was looking through that as well, and something I noted in here, it says, we've made several good faith suggestions to business owners, such as limiting amplified noise events to once a month, ending by 9 PM as advertised, or simply notifying neighbors in advance, but none have been meaningfully adopted. And I just want more detail on that, just because the past few events in this particular place have ended at 9 PM. So I'm just wondering where that neighbor agreement went wrong, because they do have a hard stop at 9 PM. And I guess I'm just a little confused of what the request is here from the complainant.
And I do want to say we haven't actually received a formal complaint to
The email, yeah.
yeah, just in the email, but no one, like, staff hasn't seen that formal complaint yet.
Okay.
And I guess we can take this email as the formal complaint. Is that right, Clayton?
I mean, I think we know about it.
Yeah.
And we can't say we don't. So again, I don't know if there's a formal complaint mechanism for noise issues or if it's just like a general complaint. We are on notice, and I don't think we can avoid that. But we don't know what the decibel level is yet either. So we haven't investigated if they have their event and we go to 25 feet away from
Yeah.
the edge of the property and the decibels are 55 or below, then that's tough for the person who lives there. But if they're higher, then it depends on by how much. And I do think there's like a reasonable factor here that just hasn't been fleshed out in the court and the case law yet. And I do think that the statute is crazy rigid. And I foresee this Hobbs case and kind of the backlash that we're seeing in the legal world here, just based on this one case, is that, I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to be a lot of lobbying for new legislation. But in the meantime, we have to deal with this, because the person, I mean, again, the person is entitled to, file against the town for an injunctive relief, but it's unclear how exactly that works, right? With a private local restaurant that does this, once a week, then they just have to quiet down. Do they have to shut down? Do they get a ticket? What's the rule? How does somebody else enforce our enforcement? And so it sounds to me like the people that are lodging the complaint are open to, being reasonable. And I think that will be the best path forward versus just like waiting for a lawsuit and doing nothing.
Lindsay, what were you gonna say? Oh, I was gonna add that I think this is like a unique case here because it's, like Jim said, a private residence in a commercial district right next to, like, literally, I mean, it's definitely less than 25 feet between that building and Indigo's. So.
Right.
Also often happens when residential abuts commercial. That's where many of these kinds of conflicts happen. And so the tricky position that the board is put in is that if there is a formal complaint and the decibel levels are above the state statutes, we have to enforce that. We don't really have a choice. And so my admonition kind of to the community, to those involved, would be, to Clayton's point, is there a more reasonable way to work this out? Because if there's no formal complaint, like, we don't have an approach or policy where the code enforcement officer is going around and writing tickets to a bunch of restaurants every weekend. That's just not kind of our culture. I don't think that's many communities' culture. And so my request to the community, if this issue is coming up, is, can you guys please work this out in some way that it's workable for the private residents and the business? And if not, then the board doesn't have much choice. Our hands are sort of tied. There's a violation. If there's no violation, then we don't really know. Yeah, and I kind of wish both parties were here to discuss it, because just looking at this email, from my understanding, the past 3 events at least have ended right at 9 o'clock.
So if that's what she's saying, yes, let's do it, why is there a riffle? Why is there a divide or a fight here? Was my question. If it ends at 9 p.m.
So I think we all have new clarity around what the noise ordinance at the state level and case law is, which is bananas to many of us. If you really want to dive into it, read the Hobbs case and see what the Supreme Court said. It was very interesting. And I think I would suggest that potentially as staff is able, if we could just do some measurements so we have a little bit more context. And any other thoughts on moving forward from the board?
I just have one quick question again.
Wait, sorry, hold on. Volume. Can you guys hear us okay? They can hear us, you just can't speak.
Got you.
Yeah, it's getting better.
Yep, thanks. Okay, go ahead, Amy.
Just a quick one on the special event permit. From reading the state statute, I interpret it as if a private business wanted to partner with a nonprofit and be sponsored, then that would be allowable under the special event permit. And I'm just looking for clarity there for options for businesses as well.
That's my understanding.
Yeah, right? Okay.
I mean, because for example, we have the radio station, like, can't you say there's a concert series once a month that's sponsored by the radio station and it's at these various things. I mean, I was just in a creative district meeting where we're talking about economic development and vibrancy of downtowns and like, be nice to have a way to.
It would probably, and I mean, Clayton would have to clarify, but from having applied for a special events permit with a nonprofit before, you'd have to have some sort of like public use, like benefit. So either a donation or like some sort of benefit to the nonprofit, not just like in name only.
Right, like a donation bucket for the creative district to support local artists or
Whatever it is, but like that status is protected under like public interest.
Absolutely, yeah.
Mhm.
Is that correct, Clayton?
Yeah, I mean, I'm hesitant to. I think that's correct. I just don't, I don't want to give advice on hypotheticals.
Well, in an ideal, go ahead, Jim.
Thus far, we have no formal complaint with Bevan, no formal complaint with the sheriff's office.
Mhm.
And nothing but an email.
Mhm.
And
Right.
Yeah.
It does feel like we're playing like community, like moderator, like negotiator without any actual like policy decision or implication, like formally.
I mean,
Mhm.
we have a policy,
Right,
not ours, but.
yeah, not ours, but like there's nothing. Like it's like a dispute between two parties, but with no formal, like necessarily policy violation as recorded
Oh, right.
somewhere. We're just sort of like
To mediate.
What if
Yes.
this happens?
Yeah.
What if that
Yeah.
happens?
And for the record, these parties have been asked to come together and town staff have offered to moderate a conversation.
Yeah.
So my appeal to these community members is like, the board kind of needs something else to go off of, or we would like to request that you could work together to find a resolution. Because without something else. We have the state statute.
Yeah.
And we have all of our intentions. And
And
that's
the
about all
offer
we
for
have.
town staff to moderate still stands, so. That's what I would strongly recommend.
It is notorious Blair Street for a reason.
Yeah.
Just saying.
No.
Put it out there for.
It does just, this is one of those moments where I'm like, when we adopted the land use code and there was a little bit more strict what can be in which district, this is a reinforcing case in my mind of like seeing those districts.
Yeah.
What they are.
And that we need
But
things.
even within, I mean, this also abuts, like, regardless of the zoning of this specific property, like it abuts residential on the other side.
Yeah.
As zones, so.
It's just a little different, like there's more space in the back there.
With the alley.
Right, there's that, yeah, totally.
But again, the call is that then if there are other individuals having concerns, then like this is the chance to have this conversation with your neighbors. This is a chance for residents and neighbors to have a conversation in business. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, it sounded like we're directing staff to make sure we're clear on the town owned or rented property and whatever we need to do there. Protecting the renter and protecting the town. And then we'll see where this goes.
And then more decibel readings for
And more-
events, and we will
Yeah.
get those to you.
That'd be great, just so we kind of know what we're working with.
Mhm.
Okay, great. All right.
So, yeah, and so one way to answer your question, I thought about it is I don't think the town has to proactively be policing decibel levels at night, right? So I don't think town staff, code enforcement, or there's nothing in the statute or our code that says sheriff and the code enforcement officer have to be roaming around at 7 p.m. shooting decibel levels at establishments. So this at least implicitly is complaint based. I think we know that there is at least somebody who thinks they have a complaint, and maybe, yes, it's not formally lodged. But I think it's smart to get out ahead of it. And so I like what the board is directing staff at this time to do. But also, I don't think we have to jump to conclusions as far as what reaction we have to have and when, based on kind of this informal conversation we're having with the person that's a potential complainant. So I think that's a clear answer to what you're asking me.
Great, thank you. And, from a reasonableness perspective, I think what this has allowed for the community and for all those involved is, hey, this actually is what the state statute says. And again, it may be kind of crazy. There's a reason why it came up, but this is how it's played out. And the sheriff has operated in such a way, code enforcement has operated in such a way, but this is how it is. And so if law enforcement or code enforcement is showing up on a scene where there is a complaint, it just allows for a more concrete discussion to happen, to say, hey, it's 11 o'clock, you're really loud. I don't mind if you normally play music, but actually the statute says, no, you can't be this loud up till 7. Like, it just gives a little bit more information to everybody to know what we're dealing with.
And what in our code do we have about the consequences of violating this, if it came to that? Because I saw in the state statute, a minimum of $100 is the fine, so.
It would fall under our general provision.
Okay.
And our general provision is up to $300. But if there is minimums, we'd have to look where the statute, where our code is more restrictive than the statute, it's allowed, where our code is less restrictive. In this case, it's disallowed.
Yeah, I really hope there can be an agreement worked out.
Okay, any other thoughts from the board on this issue? Would you like to make some loud noise? Okay, moving on to committee reports. A lot of committees this week. So first off, utility committee, we've drawn you in a couple times. What else would you like to add?
Those are the things on the agenda, other than, well, I guess maybe our show and tell moment of the new metering system. Do you want to just give the update, John? I feel like I've been talking.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I brought the meter the meter system that I'm wanting to install for Silverton. Got it woken up last week and got it put in underneath the residence today. I'm the guinea pig. So here in a couple weeks, you'll know when I take a shower.
Or how often?
Off. There you go. Yeah, it just, it's one step of many. We discussed once we get over this little hump October thing and have things settle down a little bit, where we're going to be sitting down and discussing those rate structures. That's going to be a lot of work figuring that out, how those minimums, what those rate structures are for different size meters, because we've got anywhere from a 3/8 by 5/8 all the way up to 2-inch in Silverton. So all those rates are different. So those will be a lot of brain power to figure out those to present and everything. Beyond that, I mean, I think that was the majority of the utility committee. So
But we've had a number of public comment at those lately. Is that still, is it?
No, we were pretty much alone.
Hold on.
I know. One thing I will add, you buried the lead that you're looking at a few different companies for meters, and John persuaded this person to leave their meter to test out, which is not something that we normally get. So yeah,
Persuasion.
about a $500 setup.
yeah.
Yeah,
Great. Great.
keep good in with those guys.
Yeah. We like to hear if they're reading and all the challenges.
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay. How about finance committee meeting?
Yeah. We got a compensation
Study?
study, maybe.
I call it
We
a
had the beginnings of all.
study let.
Yeah.
That's about it.
We encourage the consultant to give us a bit more data. They just had comparisons for Bayfield and Uray. And
Ray and Bayfield. Yeah.
so we encourage them to look at a few more data points and come back to us.
Thank you.
Yeah. And we looked at the actuals. That was it. Yeah. I think a preview of a highlight is that there is potential that we have one or two positions that may not have kind of pay equity in terms of other things, but we'll need to kind of, again, we'd like a little bit more data. The finance committee wanted a little bit more data on that, so. Okay, planning commission.
I can take it if you want. Okay. We had 3 items on the agenda for September 16th. They were all in the county. There was the demolition of the lead carbonate mill, and that was a unanimous approval to demolish that old mill site.
That's like over in by Bonita Peak.
Yeah, no.
Sorry, no.
Jump in.
I think it's more just like.
Yeah, item number 2 was Cascade Meadows. This is down at the southern end of the county, adjacent to Cascade Village. They're proposing 72 new units just south of the Cascade Village,
Wow.
right there. That did pass unanimously.
Mhm.
And then the third item on the agenda was the Lloyd Schwartz, and that's the Overland Estates subdivision application, which is out on,
Two.
yeah, thank you. And we had one dissenting vote and everyone else approved yes, to let him move forward and present to the county commissioners.
One note on the Cascade Meadows, and because I think it's relevant for Silverton, like budget stuff, is they are gonna do the 10% fee in lieu to the Affordable Housing Fund at the county. And they'll have to do an agreement with the school district for the school, because the school district, I didn't know, has to pay to send the Cascade kids to Durango. And so the developer will actually pay for that.
I was wondering what kind of development agreement or benefits.
Yes, there are development agreements there. So,
Okay.
And that same fee for housing is applied to Lloyd Schwartz and his.
Subdivision.
Overland Estates.
Yeah, because this is through the subdivision process with the county? Yeah. Okay. Great questions. Okay, moving us on. All right, Chamber of Commerce Board meeting. That was a long one. I left after like 3 hours. I was like, I can't do another 3-hour meeting. Cliff and Jim, you guys can keep talking. Yeah. Jim, you want to take that one?
No. I talk too much.
I'm trying to think of, to me, the chamber meeting is super useful for giving town updates, right? It's a group of engaged business owners, key people in town, and so it's great for kind of just sharing what's going on. We're only meeting quarterly these days. So I think that's helpful. There will be some seats opening up soon. So if any business owners are out there and interested in running, you can reach out to Deanne about getting put on the ballot. But we have a couple seats open. And the main thing that we got an update from Deanne on was the Do Silverton Right campaign. So I don't know if everybody remembers from her presentation from the Colorado Tourism Office, but it's really about kind of creating messaging and branding that really helps with kind of the protection and preservation as we think about how our visitors come and visit. And so there's a variety of taglines and brochures and messaging and marketing materials that will come with that. And then let's see, Jen, what else did we talk about in terms of chamber? Oh, there was something else besides the juice of that I was thinking of. Oh, the heat map was interesting. So Deanne was sharing again. So she presented this at the business summit, but basically like we can get the data from cell phone pings, right? And that's kind of an approximation, but it is showing where people are spending time in town and how many people. But what was interesting about another data point that they're able to triangulate is like of the people that are here, how many are spending money with their credit cards? So again, they're tracking everything, guys. And so basically saying that of the visitors that come here, Silverton is not doing that great in terms of completing the sale, right? So you might have people here, but they may not be spending the money, or the dollar amount may not be correlating to the number of people here. So that was kind of an interesting business perspective. And I think we could have more conversations with our business owners, with San Development and with the chamber of sort of like, okay, what does that mean for us? What does that mean for our business strategy? What does it mean for our pricing, for our products, for whatever? And so I think there's an intention on the chamber and San Development side to kind of provide useful information to the local businesses.
Is there like a margin of error on that for like cash transactions?
I'm sure there is. You could ask Deanne about it. We didn't, Devin.
We're paying their taxes.
Yeah. Let's see, Jim, anything else from that?
I don't think so. I think, because we've moved to a quarterly meeting schedule, there's a lot more to discuss and there's a lot more folks want to discuss, which is why the length and duration of our meetings go the way they go.
They always were that long. Deanne also shared a bit about just in terms of events. I think she has a pretty good pulse on number of events in the summer. And so really talking about the pickup of just events over the summer and people being here. And there was very few weekends or days that there wasn't something going on.
It's like conflicting events.
You conflicting events, you don't know which one to go to. Yeah, yeah. Okay, that was the Chamber of Commerce meeting. San Juan Development Association Board meeting. Gloria.
Yeah, good news there. Sarah raised all the money for the first phase of the entrance signs. So that will be going in probably before winter. So that's exciting. And Art Through the Seasons is happening as well. So there's a couple more businesses that have signed on to that. Again, that's funded through our Main Street program. And then we got an update from our Main Street program to ensure that we're still meeting the guidelines and if there's any support they can give us. And basically we asked if they had any support to help fund the director position longer, and they didn't have any ideas. So that's still outstanding. And I do have Sarah scheduled to present to you all on San Juan Development at the next meeting.
Thanks, Gloria. I actually have two more to add here that weren't on the list. One is the Creative District today just hosted some representatives from OEDIT to kind of keep going down their process of becoming a formal creative district. And again, if you remember, that could allow some additional funding options. Just them being an official Colorado Creative District, I think can open up some doors in terms of funding and opportunities. And so I represented the town, and then Sarah with San Juan Development Association, Deanne with the Chamber was there. And so just really kind of telling the story about creative industries, how that ties to housing and economic development and things that are happening in the community. So that was a great meeting with the OEDIT representatives. And then Jim and I represented the town in some Bonita Peak and natural resources damages. So yeah, and yeah. So it was a busy week with wandering around these hills. I can start with my update, but I hosted the trustee or representatives of the trustees for the natural resources damages funds. And Steve Mead and Lucy Mulvihill were the staff representatives, and then Anthony Edwards and then Jake Kurzweil with MSI were kind of the town leads on all of that. We really just walked them through the Animas River Corridor project, which if you'll remember, we've asked for 1.7 million for that project. the word on the street is that they really were impressed and they said this is kind of bread and butter type of NRD funding. So that's really good news for us. They're really gonna want to know where we're gonna get additional match. And we shared with them that we have, funding for the perimeter trail. We have capital funding for that or conservation trust fund for that. And it's just a matter of piecing together the funding. We said, look, if you give us the NRD funds, then we can take that money and go turn it into something bigger. The trustees really like that idea. It will probably turn into a presentation to the trustees from staff and or me and Anthony and Jake in the new year. So, but that stuff is moving forward and we got some really good signals. So that's NRD. You two wandered around in the mountains, yes?
I didn't get to go on any fun field trips. I just got to sit in a room.
Did, I went around with the Community Advisory Committee for the Benita Peak Mining District. We went and toured mines in the backcountry that have been remediated and how they're doing, updates, water purification process, quality water coming out of the mines. It was fun. It was good.
Thanks for being there.
Yep.
And so you had another one, Dad.
Yeah, I sat on the BPMD meeting last Wednesday with all of the parties. These are usually like updates of what the work that's happening, what's going to be open, what's going to be closed. Overall, it sounds like they are meeting timelines this year. I think the two things I wanted that like really came up as a major highlight was the process has been like trying to figure out what like the big plans for remediation. And so between like now and the next like few years, there's going to be larger plans presented in which there will be opportunity for public comment and input of how a lot of the larger sites will be remediated. So I think it'll be, someone noted, I think it was Anthony, of just like, this is kind of the place where we get to decide what this place looks like for the next half century. So just to note that this is like going to be a big moment in the next few years. And then the other thing, which was interesting, we had a member join from the kind of more administration side, and they're putting a lot of effort, the EPA is into the Good SAM program. And figuring out good projects to do good Samaritan remediation. And have been looking at spots in San Juan County for those first initial 15 projects.
Great, thank you.
Also, though, that's matching funds, so we're going to be competing with a variety of matching funds.
Are any of them on the NRD site list? Well,
No.
So to the public, you can see your board is hard at work.
I also have one more committee, actually.
Representing you. Okay, Lindsay, go.
Do you want to give an update on Team Gold? I don't know if you wanted to do that. Or do you want me to?
Oh, you can give the update. Sure.
Okay, great. Well, we mostly discussed Gloria's like transition and how we want to facilitate Team Gold. If you all remember, this is the goal for less dependency in town. So I had a few gold nuggets on how we meet those goals. And I think what we came up with is we'll continue to meet as a group and discuss those nuggets and figuring out a way to move forward with Eco Action sort of taking the administrative role, but then I'll be updating, like more involved also because my other hat on that team as well. And then sort of doing a little bit of like a, not like a reset, but just like a reminding ourselves why we started this program now that we're not getting the grant for the microgrid. So I think that could be a good opportunity for other board members to join as we do a little reset of like what Team Gold actually is as well.
Great, thank you. I'll be going to Region 9 on Thursday, so if anybody thinks of anything you want me to take to that group, let me know. Yeah, okay. All right, agenda item 10, open discussion, future agenda items. Anybody have anything to share? Amy?
Did we want to discuss that public comment or?
I think that's a question for the board. We got an email from that landowner, the main issue being zoning change that definitely changed economic viability of their project. They were casualty of wetland moratorium. I told you it would have an effect. So thoughts from the board. It would probably be some sort of staff direction to pursue something.
to make an exception on that, I feel like that would just open the door for more and more and more. And, yeah, I'd like to stand strong on how it is, but open to discussion.
Any other thoughts? Land use code?
I think I need more time to sit with it, actually. I'm like trying to dig back in the notes because we've heard from that landowner a few times and just trying to sift through everything that has been presented.
Sure, and or if the board so directs, it could be something related to Lucy's review of the land use code and kind of the implications. Is this a one-off where there was this significant, I mean, no matter what, the land use code is gonna have implications because we change things. And for some folks that made them better off, and for some folks that made them worse off. So. Okay, it sounds like no staff direction at this time. Anything else? Future agenda items, comments? Great, okay. Closing public comment. We have nobody in person. Do we have anybody online who would make a public comment? If you'd like to, you can click the raise hand button and we'll promote you to panelist. You will have 3 minutes with my handy new timer.
It's Melody. Can you hear me?
We can, go ahead.
I think that you need to remember that the person that's enduring loud noise has a very different perspective than any of us who are not. And over the years, because we're up against the mountain, our house kind of has a little echo thing. It's so things can be very loud. The music festival used to be very loud here. Sometimes things at the park can be very loud at our residence because of the way that noise bounces. But of all of the noise complaints that I can think of in recent years have to do with vehicles or OHVs that play their music so loud you can hear it like 5 miles away. And I think that that's something you might want to think about talking about too, is how would the town deal with that? Part of the problem is when you bring your vehicle into Silverton, it sounds like you're driving in a canyon, and the way this noise reverberates is way too much fun for him. It's kind of like a kid with some sort of an engine they want to rev up, or some 15-year-old or 16-year-old who wants to rev their car engine to have the maximum ability to annoy people. But there are various other things that happen in town. I'd say one of the worst things we ever had to listen to, there was a gathering of Harleys over in the park, and it was absolutely horrendously loud over here. And I think that when I look at what you got on this, whether it's a complaint or not, I think there's a lot of room for the business owner to be. Am I done or?
Nope, go ahead.
I think there's a lot of room that the business owner could make some changes, which could be temporary sound deafening on that one wall. You can probably buy, for any music festival, you can buy something that controls some of the sound, or any music project. I think that there could be a reason that there's more communication between the two. I do think that if you have someone staying at your house and they're not expecting it, it's going to be hell. But, I know it's a difficult thing to do, especially with a law change, but give it a lot of consideration about what it's like to endure that kind of noise. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comment on Zoom? Austin, great.
Hey, thank you guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for your consideration with the preschool tonight. Really appreciate that support from the town. And also wanted to talk just a little bit about the noise ordinance issue. This is not an isolated incident between two neighbors. This is something that several businesses, including the former business that we owned, have gone through. And definitely, I don't think the business community is looking for necessarily policing from the town board, but some policy, I think, could go a long way in helping support businesses and support neighbors. I just want to be a little clear here that, you know, the incident that we're talking about, or the neighbors that we're talking about, you know, this is a restaurant that's been there for a very, very long time.
100
This
years.
neighbor, you know, and these neighbors move in to a neighborhood where an existing business is, and then want to then change the neighborhood or change the use of it. I think you guys need to be very careful here. And I think, you know, especially for the location of where we are too, this neighbor's benefiting from the restrictions or lack thereof in BP for, you know, vacation rental usage. And in Blair Street too, Blair Street has always kind of been the, you know, red-headed stepchild of the business district, but it's still C1 or BP. And it deserves the support of our community. We hosted an event there for charity this last week, which was great. We raised over $5,000 for scholarships for students at the school. And having to deal with the restrictions in the neighbor issue is definitely a challenge for both the owner and operator of the restaurant, and for us as trying to put together this event and make it as successful as possible. So just would hope that the board would really consider, you know, the business use of this area too, and that this isn't just one neighbor and one incident that has happened. I can name both locations that we owned, the Avon Hotel, the Eureka Station has had, you know, similar things going on. So it's not an isolated thing. So thank you.
Thanks, Austin. Any other public comment online? All right, seeing none, we'll close public comment and we'll adjourn the meeting. It is 7:52.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Gloria.
Have fun, Gloria.
Thank you.
Same to fall.
Thanks,
Hi, guys.
Same.